Welcome back to the Jason Benicki Experience podcast. As always, I am your host, Jason Benicki. Add me on Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter at JASONBANICKI. Like the Facebook page, Jason Benicki Experience Podcast. Add us on Instagram, Jason Benicki Experience. And please subscribe, rate, review on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, CastBox, Satchel Podcast Player, and iHeartRadio, amongst other places. And please take a minute to subscribe, rate, review, particularly rate and review. I know there are people of you who listen on iHeartRadio or just download it right off of the Facebook page. Putting these up on YouTube now on my YouTube channel, Jason Benicki. You can add that as well. But I would love some good feedback. And again, ratings help move us up the charts, help get us more listeners. I always appreciate that. Day 4, 5, something like that of these daily episodes, been banging them out. Really enjoying the shorter format. Hope you guys are as well. Apologize if that burp made it into the audio. I don't think it did, though. But, so for a couple days now, I've been saying I wanted to talk at you guys about some campaign finance reform. I was going to talk about my experience at the basketball game last night. Tried to record an episode. Maybe lasted 7 minutes. So I'm going to have to refine my thoughts on that, push it a little longer. But I do feel like I wanted to talk about campaign finance reform. It's definitely something that fired up again in the 2016 election, both in the primaries and the general election. Something that's never going to stop being an issue until we kind of make some changes and tweaks to the system. And I kind of want to tackle one of the first issues that the left always likes to take, and that's the need to overturn Citizens United and get corporations out of the campaign finance business. And while I agree that we do need to get corporations out of the business of politics and buying undue influence through the Citizens United ruling, simply just overturning Citizens United will not be a fix in and of itself. Making a constitutional amendment that prohibits corporations from spending directly into campaigns will not end their influence in politics. So we can't just say, well, this is our fix and this is going to take care of the problem. And if we just get Citizens United off the books, make a constitutional amendment that prohibits this, we'll be all set to go. We'll pass some new laws. Campaign finance reform will be fixed. Boom, done. We got it. Boom, we won. We're going to keep winning so much you're going to be sick of winning. That's not really what's going to happen. So I agree we need to get the influence of money in politics to a very different level than where it's at now. If you just take corporations' direct money out of politics, they'll go back to the heyday of dark money and funneling and filtering it through all kinds of means and methods and channels. There's rumors of over $10 million in dark money trying to support Neil Gorsuch for his Supreme Court appointment. Trying to combine court and appointment into one word there didn't work out too well. So we do see areas where dark money still creeps in and creeps out. So as much as I do think we need to clean up the money issue in politics, the answer of getting rid of Citizens United is not as simple of a fix as it seems, partly because there's still the issue of lobbying and lobbyists that we need to take care of. But even just if you want to deal directly with campaign finance, I think ultimately the way to fix this is going to be by government financed campaigns. So you get to a point where people aren't able to buy undue influence. Basically, there'll be a 1% tax or whatever it is. Again, I'm not running the numbers before I do these podcasts. There are people out there who have done the numbers. There's plenty of articles on this idea out there that will cover what we're looking to do. That I'm talking about doing anyways. I guess I say where. I'm saying where, like somebody else has bought on to my theory here. But have publicly financed elections. That way, every candidate gets the same budget. They get the same amount of airtime. They get the same resources and the same exposure. Anything that's done outside of that public finance channel or that free airtime channel is disallowed. Anybody who breaks it, kicked out of the election, automatically forfeits. Done. You keep people out. You'll keep the dark money out. There'll be no more, issue-based lobbying, and then we can really see the cream rise to the top. Not who lobbied better, not who, was able to get the better ad buys and hit, but then we can focus on, okay, who did the research better, who polled better, and who got their message formalized. I don't want to say formalized. I'm going to leave this dead spot in here, by the way, so don't worry about it. You can hear me ramble and rant and fluster for the word. Who got their message polished and presented properly to the voting electorate, as opposed to just who was able to fundraise the best. Because ultimately, most of the time, the most money will win in an election in this country. And that shouldn't be the deciding factor of who our representatives are, who our senators are, who our mayors are, who our city council is, who our governors are, who our president is, etc. The policy in this country shouldn't be driven by big donors and big fundraising. Instead, it needs to be driven by best ideas, best willing to represent their people's interests, etc. That's the only way we're ever going to get back to a representative government. And unfortunately, I think right now there's just too much money in politics to make that happen. There's too many people who don't want to bite the bullet and give up their cush donor base or their cush lobbying job after they get out of office to say, no, we really do have to stop this for a while. We do have to change this system. We need to go to a publicly financed election and publicly broadcast debates. And that's it. Here's what you get. Here's what you get to do. Figure it out. Whoever gets the better message across wins. Bing, bang, boom, done. Thank you. Got it all taken care of. Seems so easy, right? Sounds so good. Why do I not seem so more optimistic about it? Because the reality is this is another one of those things that will immediately be attacked by the right as an additional tax, as an assault on free speech, as a bigger government program and another move to socialism. Why won't the left support it? Because they have too many big interest, big money donors as well. Both sides are against this concept that would in earnest allow third parties or smaller parties or independent candidates to compete with the duopoly of the political industrial complex. You're going to continue to hear me talk about this concept going forward. In this country, we have written off that we have two parties, Republicans and Democrats, and that's it. And it's a shame. We allow the libertarians to be part of the discussion. We allow the Green Party to be part of the discussion as spoiler roles at best. We're like, well, see, you're going to be a spoiler in this election. That shouldn't be happening. We should be looking at them as the third and fourth major party, just like most other countries have at this point, because they realize you can't have this either or option because most people don't fit in that either or box. But again, publicly funded elections would make it easier for third party candidates or independent candidates to get on the ballot, to get access to compete on equal footing. Because again, it is much harder for the third parties and the independent candidates to get an opportunity to raise the funds to compete on a major level. This is where I think the biggest benefit would be by going to publicly financed as opposed to just getting rid of Citizens United. Because trust me, getting rid of Citizens United is not going to fix our duopoly that our political industrial complex is working very hard to protect. And again, when I say the political industrial complex, I don't just mean the formal Democratic Party and the formal Republican Party. There's an entire industry built up around it. News talk radio, 24-hour cable news. There's a lot of podcasts now that are built around this concept of supporting the either-or duopoly for us. There's entire polling industries, pundits, Twitter accounts, bloggers, any kind of media you can think of. Anybody who has a position to take and money to make. There are marketing companies. There are ad companies solely supported by that political industrial complex. This is why I feel like something like publicly financed elections is something that we've all got to talk about more, that we've all got to push harder for, that we've got to say, look, we don't just want to see the end of Citizens United. We know this was a terrible ruling by an activist Supreme Court. So I'm going to throw something out here at you at the end of this, just to throw it out there, so hopefully people can think about it more. You hear a lot from the right, particularly, about activist judges and activist courts and the activist Supreme Court, which is really amazing considering it's been basically my entire lifetime, 5 conservative judges, 4 liberal judges, and they still want to call it a activist court. One of the most activist ruling, one of the least in line with the Constitution ever, or with the writer's intentions, or any of that originalist construction theory, is Citizens United. Yes, free speech. All citizens are granted free speech. However, that's people. When they talk about citizens, they talk about people. Corporations are not people. Never were, never should be. Corporations are a collective of people. Founders were afraid of big corporations. They knew what power they could have to twist the economy, twist the country, twist politics. They knew it was bad. Somehow, the activist judges on the right decided to make corporations, which is a collective, again, group of people who own it for business purposes, into an actual separate person that can never die, that was never really born, that never has to pay taxes, because God forbid we create, common sense corporate tax reform, and then allowed them unlimited access to free speech through spending money in campaigns. Again, money's not speech. Money's a way to buy access and influence. It's not speech. And but nobody on the right will ever bring that up as an activist ruling. And I don't think a lot of people on the left fight it as hard as they should. I think it's a really good talking point come election season, but you know who's never fighting that? Anybody who works for a Democratic Party, because they want the easy money from their corporations and their unions and everything else. And again, like I said, both sides have interest in maintaining the status quo of high dollar elections that make it even harder and harder every year for any third party to get in there and to force different views and to force moderating views and to force work across the aisle. So again, as you go forward, challenge people who are running for office locally, statewide, nationally. What is your view on publicly funded elections? Because this is how we get back the government for we the people. So that's where I'm going to end my campaign finance reform rant on. Thanks for tuning in once again to the Jason Banicki Experience podcast. As always, add me on Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter at JASONBANICKI. Add the podcast on Facebook, the Jason Banicki Experience podcast. Add us on Instagram, Jason Banicki Experience. Subscribe, rate, review. Please rate, review. I want to get some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Castbox, Satchel Satchel Podcast Player, iHeartRadio. These go up on my YouTube page, Jason Banicki on YouTube. Again, share it with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your crazy uncle who voted for Trump. Please let him listen to this. There's value in it for him just as much as there is for the rest of us. So thanks again, and peace.